Video of street interview with Chinese homeless woman goes viral. In the third week of May, a street interview about a Chinese homeless woman suddenly became popular on English language social media. Before, the homeless groups in major cities in the United States were generally considered to be mainly black, white, and brown groups. Few reporters interviewed Chinese, especially those who can speak Chinese. Now, it seems that this reporter Mr. It is filling the gap in the United States. Of course, this is only one of the reasons why the video went viral. The other reason is that this female college student came to the United States for advanced studies at the age of 20. He has excellent grades, is fluent in English, is familiar with Western culture, and is studying the expensive interior design major. I don't intend to offend any compatriots majoring in design, but it is true that the tuition fee for interior design is really expensive. I want to practice the American dream, even if I am now homeless and have to pick up customers everywhere in order to ask for living expenses. I still insist that America is the best, and most powerful country in the world, the only country I like. From the video, we can see what she looks like when she is tortured by life at a young age. Due to staying overnight on the street for a long time, her skin was exposed and corroded into a bark-like shape, which was seriously inconsistent with her age and higher education. Even more shocking is her account of how she made a living on the streets and had to talk to men in order to survive. Repeated dates, she said you can't live without dates, and, even scarier, she told the host that because the guy called her man, controlling her, had a special sexual fetishes, and constantly feeding her, injecting male enhancement agents to make her more physically strong and look more feeling. She has to work non-stop, including not limited to begging and picking up customers, in order to ensure that she is not abused. The scary thing is that when she laughed and talked about the details of her being beaten and abused, she actually looked very enjoying, such as they beat me with sticks, sometimes for several years, to make me more charming. When recalling her college days, her eyes suddenly lit up, not only talking about her major and design, but also clearly remembering her friends at school and the intersection of the street and the avenue where the school district was, which university is equivalent to the status in the United States, etc. When referring to her grades, she said, "I did very well, I really did very well." The reporter asked her if she was really Chinese. She used Chinese, took the water that the reporter handed her, and said thank you. In fact, the interview was sparked by her desperate begging for a 99-cent bottle of water. Considering that a Chinese-looking woman with a university background could not afford bottled water and could only dig through trash cans on the street, the reporter started the interview for several minutes. In the end, when she tremblingly said thank you, bless the kind reporter who gave her water and turned away, her body could not even stand up straight. How could she still be a Chinese girl in her 30s? Apparently, the English language media's comment section is blown up, so let's take a look. I am a native Korean, born and raised in Los Angeles to strict Korean immigrant parents. I am 42 years old and my parents' Korean generation raised my generation with unrealistic expectations of academic success. I dropped out of college at 20 and served 7 years in the U.S. Army. My dad cut ties with me for a few years because I was a college dropout. I want to hear what happened in Leah's early years that got her to where she is now. I went back to college with an AA at 31 and a BS at 33 while raising 2 kids. I wish my parents' Korean generation realized that success is a relative term and it's different for everyone. In my opinion and work experience, college is not the definition of success. Whatever triggered Miss Lee's psychosis, I hope she doesn't give up on going back to her days when she was passionate about interior design. Or pursue whatever productive lifestyle she wants. I hope her Chinese parents didn't deny her, most likely they did. Xiaoli, we support you. You have a sweet soul. As a mom, this totally breaks my heart. This is someone's child. Man, this broke my heart more than I thought it would. This woman needs a lot of help, kindness, and medical resources, and it's a pity we didn't prioritize helping these people, the most vulnerable among us. She broke my heart by saying her trauma was not a big deal. It's her way of breaking free from all the horrible things she's been through. I am praying for her success. She is such a gentle person. God bless her soul. I hope she gets the help she needs. Poor woman. She was losing her mind and didn't even realize it. I hope she can find the help she needs. It seemed like she could be a valuable, productive member of society if she could get the spiritual help she desperately needed. Praying for her happiness. You can tell she has a good heart. She just went through a lot of hard times. We are all human and we all go through trials and tribulations. Some people handle it worse than others. Thank you for covering Asians. I was also a former junkie, addicted to little blue pills. Thank God I've been off for over a year now. I started a channel to document my journey to sobriety, help others, and raise awareness about the problem of the drug epidemic. I love the interviews you did and would love to be able to comment using some of your content. So heartbroken, you can see her having to fight back and forth in reality. It's heartbreaking. She said people beat her up and she was still having fun. Very scary. Her life was so hard and her mind so broken, but she was a law-abiding, good person. I wonder how this all happened. Sad face. She almost had a complete nervous breakdown. Her problem is not just drugs. Seeing that many people think she is a good and kind person, praying for her or something, I can only say that after I mature, I will no longer be moved by this. Her homelessness has been publicized for a long time, and she may have been controlled and tortured by the evil for a long time at a young age, so that now she is happy to be beaten with sticks. This woman obviously needs help, and then almost everyone in the message area just prayed for her, and then there was nothing. Of course, I can't blame everyone is very difficult, there is no need for moral kidnapping. But one thing is true, that is, she loves and believes so much in the world's most powerful and advanced country, which failed to give her any dignified life. The good memories of her life may only stay in the few years of college. Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway sold all of its shares in TSMC, the world's largest chip maker. The billionaire himself acknowledged at a meeting with investors this month that the moves were motivated by concerns about rising geopolitical tensions in the Taiwan Strait. Against the background of recent trends in the global semiconductor industry, Buffett's clearance of TSMC is like a wake-up call for the entire chip industry. American billionaire Buffett bought TSMC shares at the end of September last year. The market value of a package of 60.06 million securities was about $4.12 billion at the time, but the American investor changed his mind in the fourth quarter of that year and sold 86% of it. And this month Buffett sold the rest. Buffett has earned a worldwide reputation as one of the most successful investors who specialize in long-term investing. For example, Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio contains securities of approximately 50 companies, with Apple, Bank of America, Chevron, Coca-Cola, and American Express at the forefront. An outright dump of the Taiwanese chipmaker's stake would naturally raise concerns among shareholders, especially after Buffett made the decision to clear the warehouse on the grounds of Taiwan Island's geographical location. Taiwanese media quoted Buffett as saying, "I have more confidence in our investment in Japan than in Taiwan. I wish that wasn't the case, but I think that's the reality." Li Kai, an associate professor at Shaanxi University of Finance and Economics, told satellite news agency that geopolitical risks will indeed affect the investment value of enterprises. Due to the continuous deterioration of the international situation by Western politicians, the investment environment of the entire island has deteriorated significantly. Even large international investors do not have much hope for advanced companies such as TSMC. The China expert believes this could have a bigger impact on Taiwan's economy in the long run. Li Kai said, since the former Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, the Chinese People's Liberation Army has held 2 military exercises around Taiwan. Coupled with the impact of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the international community has formed an atmosphere of public opinion that cross-strait conflicts may escalate, and even wars will break out. In addition to the hype in the Western media, this kind of public opinion is also operated by arms dealers, including the U.S. military-industrial complex, who are also happy to see the situation, taking the opportunity to expand arms sales. In the background, Buffett decided to sell all TSMC shares, not because of problems with the fundamentals of the company, but mainly based on geopolitical considerations. This also reflects that geopolitical risks do affect the investment value of companies, especially when politicians propose when the cross-strait war will blow up TSMC, the investment risk of the company has increased significantly. And Buffett has sold shares without reservation, which shows that the investment atmosphere in Taiwan is already very bad, and the international investment community has poor investment expectations for Taiwan. It seems that this may have a greater impact on Taiwan's economy. Li Kai pointed out that despite China's diplomatic efforts to thwart the U.S. policy of cutting off supply chains, the anti-globalization process in the world has continued unabated. As the competition between China and the United States intensifies, smart investors will pay more attention to possible risks. Taiwan is becoming unfavorable for long-term and profitable investments. Li Kai went on to say, with the increasingly fierce competition between China and the United States, the trend of globalization has stagnated and reversed, and calls for decoupling and breaking chains have become louder and louder. Some analysts even believe that the future supply chain will split into two, respectively. China, the United States and Europe are the dominant players. Although China is trying to reverse this trend through diplomacy and calls on European countries not to follow the United States blindly, the trend of anti-globalization has basically taken shape. In this regard, more and more international investors will use geopolitics factors are incorporated into investment evaluation indicators. I think that geopolitical risks will be the top priority for investors for a long period of time in the future. Virtually all attempts by the United States to stifle China's IT industry by creating a shortage of semiconductors in the market have led to the opposite effect, an increase in public investment and the creation of chip production technology independent of imports. The Chinese government has provided more than 12.1 billion yuan in subsidies to 190 local semiconductor companies. China's National Bureau of Statistics reported a 3.8% increase in chip production on Tuesday. And China's Hua, which TSMC excluded from its customer list in the spring of 2020, has spent the past 3 years creating its own processor design kit without the involvement of foreign technology. Hua intends to share its development with other Chinese IT vendors involved in chip design. Attacking Beijing now is a real threat to Taipei's IT industry. Due to the inflated China threat theory in the West, the island of Taiwan is becoming a place for venture capital investment, and as mainland China's semiconductor autonomy increases, Taiwan's the island will gradually lose competitiveness in this field. Against this backdrop, the refusal of major U.S. investors to invest may be a worrying signal for the main engine of Taiwan's economy. Last month, Tsai Ming-kai, chairman of Taiwan's Mediatek, the world's largest mobile chip maker, acknowledged his concerns about the situation. In his white paper on Taiwan's IC design industry policy, he pointed out that if the Taiwan government does not take additional measures to develop the IC industry, Taiwan will soon lose a large part of the world market. Cai Mingja also pointed out that due to U.S. sanctions, mainland China's influence in the global chip market has continued to grow, threatening not only Taiwan's semiconductor industry itself, but also the practitioners in it. Former Soviet space shuttle Buran for sale, decommissioned status, current status for sale, with relevant documents. Product number 1135, factory number and degree 2K1, the only one in the world. The Buran is a spaceplane developed by the former Soviet Union in response to the U.S. Space Shuttle program. It completed an uncrewed flight in 1988, demonstrating its technological prowess beyond that of the United States. The snowstorm is 36.37 meters long, 16.35 meters high, with a wingspan of 23.92 meters and a takeoff weight of 105 tons. It has a large cargo compartment 18.3 meters long and 4.7 meters in diameter, capable of sending 30 tons of cargo to low Earth orbit and 20 tons of cargo back to the ground. There is a cockpit with a volume of 70 cubic meters in the head, which can take 10 people and has a designed flight life of 100 times. In the early 1970s, the United States formulated a plan to develop a space shuttle and listed it as the primary project of manned spaceflight. Due to the arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union, the Soviet authorities regarded this new type of spacecraft as a tool for the United States to carry nuclear weapons in the future, and decided to develop similar spacecraft in 1976 as a response to this threat. The Soviets named it Buran. Developed together with Blizzard is the heavy launch vehicle Energia. It can be used to launch the Buran space shuttle, or it can be used alone as a launch vehicle. The real orbital first flight was realized on November 15, 1988. The difficulty of this automatic flight is obviously much greater than the first manned flight of the Columbia Space Shuttle in the United States in 1981. The Blizzard is equipped with a small engine, which can achieve powered return to a certain extent. If the first landing fails, it can be used for a second flight. The space shuttle is strong. The Blizzard is superior to the American Space Shuttle in some technical aspects, mainly in 1. The main engine of the space shuttle is on the energy rocket, which greatly reduces the weight of the space shuttle into orbit. Although it is slightly larger than the American space shuttle, it is about 5 tons lighter, so that it can carry more payload. 2. The energy rocket can be used for multiple purposes, not only to launch space shuttles, but also to launch other spacecraft, which met the needs of the Soviet space arms race at that time. Moreover, the energy rocket can be recovered in sections and reused to improve efficiency. 3. Both the first and second stages of the energy rocket use liquid propellants, so the reliability of the rocket is relatively high. However, in case the snowstorm space shuttle breaks down, its own mobile engine can be used to make the space shuttle enter a lower orbit or return to the launch site immediately, which greatly improves the safety performance of the space shuttle. 4. Although the Blizzard space shuttle does not have a main engine, it has 2 small mobile engines. If the first landing fails during landing, it can be pulled up like an ordinary plane and land again, with relatively high safety performance. 5. When the Blizzard is in orbit, it relies entirely on unmanned automatic driving, which is more technically difficult. According to the vision of the Soviet military, the Buran space shuttle will be the weapon-carrying platform of the Soviet Space Force, which will fight against the spacecraft and ballistic missiles of hostile countries in space and attack the enemy's air, sea, and land targets. To this end, the Soviet Union has also developed 3 weapon systems for the Blizzard space shuttle, namely the missile weapon complex, the laser weapon complex and the autonomous attack combat module. Basic parameters. Total mass of structure and landing system, 42,000 kilograms. Mass of functional systems and propulsion system, 33,000 kilograms. Maximum payload, 30,000 kilograms. Maximum takeoff weight, 105,000 kilograms. Size. Length, 36.37 meters. Wingspan, 23.92 m. Landing gear height, 16.35 meters. Payload bay length, 18.55 meters. Payload bay diameter, 4.65 meters. Wing sweep angle, 78 degrees. Wing sweep angle, 45 degrees. Advance. Orbital maneuvering engine total thrust, 17,600 kgf. Orbital maneuver engine specific impulse, 3.55 kilometers per second. Total RCS thrust, 14,866 kgf. Average RCS specific impulse, 2.70 to 2.89 kilometers per second. Normal maximum propellant load, 14,500 kilograms. G7 equals the world. Hua Chunying posted a picture of frog in the bottom, satirizing G7 countries to smear China's words and deeds. If China is a threat, then what are those G7 members that wage war on sovereign states, overthrow legitimate governments, withdraw from multilateral treaties, and coerce other countries to cut off supply chains? Hua Chunying, spokesperson for China's assistant foreign minister on the evening of the 22nd, when he posted 5 posts on Twitter in a row, in response to the remarks made by members of the Group of 7, G7, to smear and attack China, he issued such a rhetorical question. Hua Chunying said in the first post that day, some G7 members claim that China is the biggest threat to global security and prosperity. Are they serious? China is the largest engine of the global economy, contributing more than the sum of the G7 member countries, is the main trading partner of more than 140 countries and regions, and is the second largest financial contributor to UN peacekeeping operations. Downward arrow. In a second post, she said, if China is a threat, then what are the G7 members that wage war on sovereign states, overthrow legitimate governments, withdraw from multilateral treaties, and coerce others into cutting supply chains? The real world will not be brainwashed and deceived. Downward arrow. Hua Chunying then posted 3 pictures, the first of which was themed frog at the bottom of the well, and the accompanying text read, G7 equals the world. Downward arrow. The second picture posted by Hua Chunying cites data from the World Bank's World Development Indicators database to conclude that China's contribution to world economic growth from 2013 to 2021 exceeds the sum of the G7. The data on the graph shows that China, the United States, Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, France, and Canada contributed 38.6%, 18.6%, 0.9%, 1.8%, 2.1%, 1.1%, and 1.2% to world economic growth, respectively. Downward arrow. The third picture posted by Hua Chunying shows that the total population of the G7 countries accounts for 10% of the world's population, and the total land area of the G7 countries accounts for 16% of the world's total. Downward arrow. In recent years, G7 countries have frequently hyped up the so-called China threat theory and smeared and attacked China. China has repeatedly expressed strong dissatisfaction and opposition. A few days ago, the G7 summit held in Hiroshima, Japan issued a joint statement and other documents, hyping up China-related issues and alluding to China with so-called economic coercion. In this regard, the spokesperson of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated on the 20th that the Group of Seven is singing high profile towards a peaceful, stable, and prosperous world, but what it is doing is hindering international peace, damaging regional stability, and suppressing the development of other countries. This practice has no international credibility at all. In disregard of China's serious concerns, the G7 insisted on manipulating China-related issues, smearing and attacking China, and grossly interfering in China's internal affairs. China expresses its strong dissatisfaction and firm opposition to this, and has lodged stern representations with Japan, the host of the summit, and other relevant parties. The spokesperson also said that the era when a few developed countries in the West wantonly interfered in the internal affairs of other countries and manipulated global affairs is gone forever. We urge the members of the G7 to conform to the general trend of the times, focus on solving their own problems, stop forming closed and exclusive small circles, stop containing and oppressing other countries, stop creating and provoking confrontation between camps, and return to dialogue and cooperation. Come up the right way. The G7 was separated into an anti-China small workshop. A commentary article published on this topic by the Global Times on the 22nd said that the greater the anti-China voice of the G7, the smaller the actual effect it can play. This is the law. Because this will mean that it serves the strategic interests of the United States, not the well-being of the international community. It is difficult for the latter to expect any help, but only the struggle of sailing against the current. It is likely that in the end, G7 found that he had spent a lot of energy, but the result was just spinning in place. If the G7 really wants to reinvigorate its glory, it is actually not difficult to say, that is, to do what it says is not to harm China, to adhere to one China, not to engage in decoupling or decoupling in disguise, and to be consistent with China in words and deeds. Build constructive and stable relationships.